levelling up, I want to start by talking to you about levelling up. That was the whole pitch in 2019, as well as getting Brexit done, which we both supported.
Yep, absolutely.
That levelling up agenda, putting, boots on the ground, actually building up and reviving parts of the country that have been ignored for far too long. Do you think that's at risk without Boris Johnson as PM?
But the truth is, Darren, like many of Boris's slogans, great slogans, no delivery, no action, complete waffle. He even had to appoint a minister for levelling up to work out what it meant, because he didn't have a clue. None of them had a clue. There's been no levelling up whatsoever. But let me tell you what I would do. In fact, the only attempt at levelling up they've done is to continue with HS2, which sadly is exactly the opposite. It's actually levelling down by bringing people a little bit quicker from the north to London. So what I think they should do is they should cancel HS2. That would save 100 billion quid, and we should use that money rapidly, urgently, to invest it in the north. East-west links from Liverpool to Manchester to Leeds to Hull to Newcastle. That would be truly levelling up. But here's the other thing, and I've heard on the doors campaigning up and down the country. We've got an energy crisis. We're potentially facing rationing this winter. It's the gravest crisis since the Second World War. The best thing in terms of levelling up is to drill down for shale gas. The value of our shale gas is in the rock is £1 trillion plus.
Wow.
£1 trillion. That's half our national debt. Think about this. £1 trillion of levelling up by drilling down. It would create jobs. It would release the treasure under our feet, which is completely wasted at the moment. And we could have a huge sovereign wealth fund. We could invest it in the regions, in the north, in the southwest. All these opportunities. And actually, it's better for the environment. Because if we use our own gas, domestic gas, you save CO2 emissions compared to importing it. So it's an absolute win-win. And for me, that's the biggest, the fastest, that's the most effective form of levelling up in terms of the value that it would create, that it would unleash this huge treasure.
We were just talking there in the segment before you came on, Richard, with William from Conservative Home, Deputy Editor of Conservative Home. And he was saying that Rishi, right now, is looking like the front runner. Does that have Reform UK, your political party, formerly the Brexit Party, does that have you quaking in your boots?
Absolutely not. To be honest, I'd be delighted if Rishi Sunak wins, because we will have even more members joining us. We've had, really good numbers in the last couple of days saying, I'm done with the Tories, can't trust them, they're not going to do the right thing, they're not going to cut taxes, and Rishi's confirmed it this morning. He is the serious candidate. I'll tell you what he is for. If you're ready for Rishi, you're ready for more tax rises, you're ready for more inflation, you're ready for more growth. Are you still ready for Rishi? I don't think so. But a Rishi Sunak candidate, successful Prime Minister for the Tory party, would be bad for the country. It would actually be good for Reform UK, because more and more people would see that our agenda is the real Conservative agenda of cutting taxes hard on consumer goods, on VAT, having a sensible agenda to reduce emissions. We all reduce emissions, but let's use our shale gas under our feet. None of these candidates are talking about shale gas, the treasure under our feet. None of them are talking about the opportunity. None of them are talking, how do we get energy bills down? How are we self-reliant? It's extraordinary. They don't seem to understand how people are really suffering up and down the country.
I couldn't agree with you more. And family members of mine are saying, look, I'm not driving the car on weekends anymore, just can't afford to. And I'm wondering, Richard, if actually politicians, all too willingly, frankly, support this agenda of people rolling back their energy use. It's primarily working class people. Let's not forget, it's not Chelsea tractors being driven around that are struggling right now. Do you actually think that this is part of a wider agenda, a sort of net zero agenda, or as you call it, Richard, a net stupid agenda?
Look, we all want to do our bit. We all care about the environment, but, Boris's bit, which I think they all sign up to, in fact, the whole of Westminster sign up to, it's the wrong bit at the wrong price in the wrong time frame. And all it will do is impoverish the whole nation. It'll send our jobs and money overseas. And it's the least well off, the lowest paid, the poorest in society, who suffer most with small increases or large increases, as we've seen, in energy bills, in fuel prices. And the truth is, actually, fossil fuels have enriched all of us. We live longer lives. Billions more people around the world actually benefit with longer lives, with more energy, with cheaper energy, because of fossil fuels. So yes, let's use technology to reduce emissions, but let's recognise that actually cheap, cost-effective energy by fossil fuels is our best opportunity. We've got all of this energy resource of our own. Mm-hmm. We could be so wealthy as a nation. We could cut taxes for tens of millions of people really significantly. But to do that, let's use our own treasure.
So who then is the man or woman to actually deliver the kind of vision that you're talking about?
At the moment, I haven't heard any of them talk about energy. I haven't heard any of them talk about shale gas. And they all talk about tax cuts. Boris Johnson talked about tax cuts. I want to be able to trust someone. And the truth is, given that almost all of the candidates, with a couple of honourable exceptions, sat in that cabinet and completely betrayed the manifesto they stood on, I don't trust any of them. Yeah. And I think people need to be really careful about who they place their trust in.